Hey, good Wednesday morning, and thanks for checking out your latest long-range forecast. Michael Clark here with BAM Weather. Hey, it is just a little after 9:45 Eastern time here, Wednesday, January 29th. We're going to talk about an excessively wet pattern coming, very active, a lot of storm systems. Mild now, and I think cold that can return. We'll talk about why the cold has been delayed, and then where I think we're kind of going to go mid-month and beyond, and what the risk looks like. Again, definitely don't think we're done with winter by any means, but definitely think a pause is coming, and then we're going to be looking at kind of going back to it. So make sure you share it with a friend. Subscribe to the YouTube video or the YouTube account if you haven't already done so. We'll take a look at radar this morning. You can see those snow squalls going on there across the Northeast and the Great Lakes. Some rain down across the Deep South. There will continue to be some rain here today, as we do have an outlook, or at least a risk for some severe weather across the Deep South, Dallas, Texas area. There's a risk here for potentially a tornado or two just north and west of San Antonio to Austin. A little bit of a hail risk and a wind risk. The outlook tomorrow ramps up a little bit across the Deep South into Louisiana. Think about it. Last week they got a foot of snow, and tomorrow they could be dealing with tornadoes, hail, and some damaging winds. So it's never a dull moment down there across the Deep South for sure, at least here in the short term. Forecast for rainfall the next 24 hours. All this, again, available on the Clarity platform. These maps update every hour. They use a blend of 100 different weather models, and they give you the forecast 24 hours out, and you can interrogate them and click on them. Heaviest rain here, northwestern Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma, northern Texas in the next 24 hours. And about it for the most part in terms of rain's concerned. Snow will be concentrated out here across, the south and west on the colder side of the system. Southern Colorado, northern New Mexico, some heavy snows. And then you can see the lake effect snow continuing to deliver some accumulations here in the Northeast. Ice next 24 hours. Well, in that storm system, there may be some little ice concerns. Western Kansas out there across eastern Colorado. But that's kind of a look here at Clarity. It's going to get rainy the next 7 days, especially across the Deep South. And again, we're going to talk about that here as we go forward in today's outlook. So let's get with it here. We'll go in and take a look at the precipitation departure from normal for the month so far of January. It's been exceptionally dry. We're going to bring a lot of rain into an area that's been dry. But boy, I'll tell you what, an area you'll want to continue to keep your eye on, at least over the next few weeks. Will continue to be here across the northern plains. The Midwest has been very dry. Obviously, still dry down here. We'll kind of talk about this going forward. It's been cold. The entire country, with the exception of Northwest California and Maine, has been colder than average for the month of January. And I suspect we're going to finish this month somewhere around the third or fourth coldest January on record, dating back to 1990, coming in behind 1994 perhaps. The forecast here from our friends at Tropical Tidbits using the GFS computer model. Again, you can see that storm system here bringing rain further north into the Ohio Valley as we get into Friday. Nice low pressure system, maybe some thunderstorms, some elevated thunder and lightning here across the Ohio Valley, and some heavy rains for sure as the low pressure center lifts off to the north. It'll run into cold air across the north and east, offering up some snow in the interior portions of Northeast into New England. A little bit of a cold shot in behind it. Nothing too crazy, though. It'll stay to the northern tier of the country. Another storm system starts to get its act together, though, as we get into next week. Watch this here. There it is right there. This one, because we have some lingering high pressure. It's not necessarily in the form of the banana-shaped Arctic air mass that would allow for a big snowstorm. But notice the model hinting at ice concerns. You may have an overrunning event where the rain is running into some cold, shallow cold air trapped at the surface next week. There may be somewhat of an ice threat across the mid-central portion of the country. We'll keep you posted on that. Beyond that, though, there's another storm. All right, look at this. This is the storm moving out, another cold shot. We're going to have those intermittent cold shots. Another storm system beyond that. Takeaway, here's the takeaway. It's very active. All right. Most of the snow is going to be confined to the north and northwest and the interior portions of the Northeast, but it's active. We're going to have the potential here at times to still be dealt a hand of these storm systems having a tap to the polar vortex, at least within inside of the next 10 days. If the stratospheric polar vortex wants to depart a little bit, But the upper air, the tropospheric vortex, which is, where a little bit closer to where we live, if you will, you're going to note here all the way out. I'm going to take it all the way out to 360 and kind of talk to you about this. It's in two pieces, okay? This is the tropospheric polar vortex. This is the coldest air around 20,000 feet up into the sky. And there's two lobes of it. There's a lobe here, and then there's a lobe here over the Hudson Bay. Again, as storm systems track through, and they're going to be taking a track that's probably somewhere about like this for the month of February, something like this, they're going to have the potential to interact with Arctic air as the TPV is still over here. So what does that mean? Well, in the short, it's going to get warm out ahead of systems and cold behind them. That's what it means. And they can still draw in Arctic air, especially in the Midwest and the Pacific Northwest. But the warmth wins out here through mid-month out ahead of these storm systems. All right, and you can see this. This is the AI version of the European. Look how warm it is here as you get into the weekend, Thursday, Friday. It's very, very warm. It's exceptionally above normal temperatures. And then even early next week. But watch the Arctic air building to the north and west. It spills in. There's that ice threat next week where enough cold air is available here that you're going to be colder to the north and west and northeast, but warmer to the southwest and the southeast. And then you can see another mild period here, and then watch behind this, another shot of Arctic air may come in mid to late month. See no reason to really disagree with that for the time being, right? So what's it say? The next 10 days, well, the heaviest of the rain, no doubt about it, the next 10 days will be found right through here. And I'm really just kind of circling where you're 2 inches or more of rain over the next 10 days. Obviously, there's more rain outside of this area. Note the area very, very dry, still doesn't get a bunch in the way of precipitation. Neither do you down here as well. Those two areas are still areas of concern. Otherwise, very wet, very muddy. The soil's thawing out, it's been frozen, the snow's melting, and you're tossing in a bunch of rain on top of it. Just a look at the blend of models for snowfall. Again, you can see where the concentration of snow will be, where the Arctic air is. And I don't have, in the next 10 days, I don't have any reason to believe that there's going to be much of, if any, snow, south and east of this line for the most part. So continuing to see some snow up here where the cold air can work in, but no big systems to mention for winter storms inside that time frame. Aside from the ice threat, I want to at least keep an eye on next week of an overrunning event there. Week 2, this will take us the 6th through the 12th of February. All right. Again, I want you to notice the setup, the probability for warmer than normal temperatures to the east and southeast with the cold working in behind it. Look at that. You can see it just hangs out cold here. But the storm systems drag in the cold behind. And that sets up a battle zone. All right. That battle zone can be seen really through here. In terms of precipitation, with a focus of above normal anomalies in here in week 2. The highest probability 60 to 70% there. Nonetheless, it's active, right? With a gradient there, and it gets warm in the east and south. The demand for heating, the natural gas, it's plummeted. We've lost a ton of HDDs due to the fact that we're going to warm up through mid-month, all right? Why is that? Well, let's talk about it. It's the MJO. Initially, what my thought process was with the way the PV had been behaving, the shape, the orientation of it, I thought, you know what, we're going to continue to verify colder than what the data has presented. Well, now what starts to happen is the MJO is messing with the base data a little bit. It's backing off on the Pacific blocking. So the vortex is kind of retreating a little bit, the stratospheric polar vortex, and we are going to have a period of getting a little bit milder. I still don't think we're done with cold, though, especially last part of February into March. All right, so let's talk about that. American Ensemble did great with the MJO forecast. You can see this is the actual track of the MJO. This is the forecast from the GEFS products. Great job. You take it out here through the period, going out through the 12th of February. It ends in phase 6. I don't see a reason to believe it stops, and I'll tell you why. Okay, see this strong easterly wind burst we've had here for a bit, and we're going to continue to have till about the 9th of February. Those winds across the equator are blowing from east to west. And what it does is it puts a halt on the movement of the MJO, on the movement of the convection across the equator. Okay, the MJO is just moving convection across the equator. Upward motion and thunderstorms, that's what it is. And this stops that from happening. Forecast from a lot of the different data is for the easterly winds to let up. And that's going to be right around the 12th to the 13th. In the past, the MJO may continue to go through again into 6, 7, and 8. I don't have a reason to believe that that won't happen. Or at least it's potentially on the table. I can't discount it based on what I'm seeing here. And I'm showing you the GFS because it performed well. I'm looking at years where it did this. It did this in years like 2023. It did it last year in February. February is the green line. We've got 2016, 2008, 2001, and 1994. It's no coincidence 94 is on the list if you ask me. It's a little bit quicker, but 94 January, by the way, was one of the coldest Januaries ever. But here's the GEFS extended forecast. Again, you can see what it does. It takes it through here. By the end of February, you're getting into the end of phase 7, potentially into phase 8, right? And a lot of these analog years do that. So what do those look like? Well, when we're in La Niñas, and by the way, I believe we have a strong La Niña forcing. Finally, everything is suggesting La Niña for the first time this winter. The SOI is very positive. The angular momentum, the global wind is negative, and the central Pacific Ocean is cool. So we have La Niña-like behavior right now. So the best way to look at this is MJOs in La Niña. All right, phase 4, there's your warmth. No question. Phase 5, as we transition, there can be a cold shot, and the models have that. They've got a couple of cold shots here inside the 15-day period. Now, the warmth wins out because you go back into phase 6. It's very warm here in the east and the southeast. And I don't have any reason to deny that. But the theme is you're always going to keep this particular profile of being colder to the west and northwest in the Pacific Northwest. See this? Now the cold bleeds in here in phase 7. But you see the kind of the theme? Phase 7 suggests the southeast ridge really starts to relax as the Pacific blocking really starts to return. Cold can spill back down in here. Okay? And that's where late February into early March, the potential for winter storms can come back. When you look at years tropical forcing wise for the best analog package, the precipitation departures from normal, and I've double weighted the 2 years we like the most, which would be 94 and 01. It's mostly wet through here, all right, with the strongest signal kind of being maybe like this, and then maybe like this, a couple of areas there above normal. The cold is most focused here. I've said that all along for February. It may be most focused in through here. That's no change. I haven't changed that. With the gradient to the south and east, probably, most likely, a couple of severe weather episodes in the deep south, maybe even a tornado outbreak or two. Keep that in mind for February across the deep south, especially as we're moving through the phases of the MJO and the global wind pattern is changing. The big question you guys are going to ask me, where's the snow going to be? Who can get snow where in the month of February? Here's what I think. I think the best risk for the first 15 days of the month is going to come right in through here. All right? Just like this. That's the 1st through the 15th, in my opinion. Okay? Then if you want to go to the 15th and beyond, I think what can happen is, and what I'll do is I'll change the color so you guys can follow along. I think you have the same area, only what happens is they may come south a little bit and include more of this potential area in the mix. And we would call this the 15th, let's call it through the 5th of March, okay? That would be the area of focus for potential snow. So again, I don't believe we're done, and I don't believe we're finished with the cold either, all right? You ask the latest European Weekly, it would tell you the same thing. In fact, the change in the previous run here, you can see getting into this, watch this. Watch the change, the colder trend there for the back part of February indicates that it can be colder here. You look at the temperature departure forecast. This is the let's go through. I want to show you the first week of February here on the weekly. Right there. There's week 1. Okay. There's week 2. Okay. So the cold tries to come back in. That's interesting. Go forward here. There's week 3. All right. And then you're getting into March. It keeps going. and you look at the total departure here from precipitation, from normal, and you can see the focus of where we're going to be the wettest for precip. So again, an active month, 15th prior, warmer, rainy, 15th beyond, maybe especially the 20th to the 25th or 6th. I think another good shot of cold can come in, and that cold can linger into March potentially. That's something to keep in mind there. It's interesting to note the AAM, the angular momentum, wants to stay majority weekly negative in through the month of March, which would indicate we're going to continue to deal with, I think, a prolonged version of colder and wintry, I can't even say it, wintry risks well into March this year, in my opinion. So that's all I have for today. Make sure, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.